Welcome to Picking Teams, a podcast that dives into the playbooks of seasoned coaches. I'm your host, Amy Bryant, a 23-year veteran college coach, and my guests hail from the professional, college, and youth ranks. Together, we'll share real stories from our coaching experiences to empower you as parents to be positive forces in your child's sports journey. Our guest today is Coach Jason Zimmerman. Jason is a current Division III head men's basketball coach and director of Coach Z's basketball camps. He has over 28 years of college coaching experience, including stints at the University of Evansville and his alma mater, Davidson. And now he's at Emory, where he's been since 2007. So, Jason, tell me a little bit about your journey to become a college coach.
Absolutely. Well, let's first say we miss you here. Like I miss working with you here down the hall, so I can come down and see you. I miss that. But my journey that brought me here, I think I don't know if it's unique, but I enjoyed basketball, right? Like growing up, I just enjoyed it. If people say you pay more attention in the classes that you enjoy in school, and I just really enjoyed basketball, right? So every time I was in practice or working with my coaches, I just tried to soak it all in. And I guess I went to Davidson. I thought I'd be an accountant maybe, and I don't really know if I've told many people that probably, but I went to Davidson, thought I'd be an accountant, and then I got there and I was like, no, it's in my blood to coach and be part of teams. And so I played for some unbelievable coaches growing up. So my high school coach is in the Hall of Fame in Indiana High School Basketball Hall of Fame. My college coach is in the New York Basketball Hall of Fame. He's in the Davidson, obviously, Hall of Fame. He'll be in the Naismith Hall of Fame soon if he's not. So I played for unbelievable guys who are great mentors and people. So that probably led to me getting into coaching, and then getting into college coaching. I was a high school teacher for 2 years right after I got done at Davidson. Education and teaching was always something I was interested in, just because I think teaching is coaching and coaching is teaching. And that really just led to me getting into, and my two coaches I played for were unbelievable teachers, which I think sometimes is lost in today's college coaching world. But I had an unbelievable math teacher for a high school coach, and my college coach was a high school teacher, headmaster before he became a college coach. So I just grew up around teaching the game and went to 5-star basketball camps to teach the game. And so I was a teacher for 2 years, taught economics and government to seniors in high school. And I was 22 years old. I wore a tie every day because I felt like I looked like a senior in high school myself. And then Coach McKillop asked me to come back and be on his staff. I was on his staff for 7 years and went to Evansville for 4. And then Betsy Stevenson called me. I have no idea why, but she called me and asked me if I'd be interested in the Emory job. And I didn't know much about Emory at the time. And took me about 30 seconds to research it and said I'd be very interested in interviewing for the job. Took me a long time to interview. And then thankful for the people like you chose me, and I got to be here for the last 17 years. So that was my journey kind of here. It's been really special for me, and to be in one place for 17 years as a college coach is special. Like my kids grew up at Emory, my kids grew up in Atlanta, and now they're in college. But that's kind of my journey into coaching. Is really started teaching is how I got into college coaching, right?
That's awesome. I had no idea that you were a teacher, but it makes so much sense knowing you, because you really are all about teaching life lessons more so than even just teaching basketball. And so, yeah, it's been, the pleasure has been all mine being able to work alongside you for, I guess I only got to work alongside you for 15 years because I cut out a little bit early, but I really feel fortunate to have learned all sorts of lessons from your teaching through that time. So one thing that the parents listening to the show are really interested in is how to get their kids into college, how to get them recruited. And throughout all of your basketball coaching jobs, I'm sure you have a lot of experience with the recruiting. So Which outlets would you recommend for families, obviously basketball, to get seen by the right coaches, and how do they go about picking those outlets?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I've had two children. My children have gone through the other side of the process, and I realize like I have no idea how this works, and I've been in the business for 40 years, right, or whatever, 30 years. So not that I have no idea how it works, but I think the biggest thing is you got to find schools that, instead of just going out there and being like, hey, I just want to get recruited, right? I think it's important to do research, like what schools you'd be interested in. And I think that's the most important thing. Like they say, like when you're good, people find you, right? That's why when you're good, people find you. Well, yes, but like it's a big world. Like there's a lot of things out there. Like so I think showing interest in a school is important, right? And then there's a fine line there. Like you can go overboard, right? I get inundated with emails from the same person, like, and like, hey, maybe there's no interest from our side, right? So, but I think showing interest in that school and doing your research in that school and coaches, et cetera, is very important when it comes to being seen. And then the other part about that is understanding who goes to what events, like for basketball, for example. In basketball, like Emory being the educational piece to Emory and admissions and all that. So we use a lot of the Ivy Leagues, Patriot Leagues, elite camps. When we go to an AAU tournament, which we go to some, when we go to AAU tournament, we've already done our homework of getting people's transcripts, finding out grades, finding out like things about the family, right? Like, is Emory a spot for you? So we do a lot of, as a coach, we do a lot of our work pre going out to see kids. So I think, when you ask where do we get our guys from, I think we've been really fortunate, and I'm fortunate to work at a place like Emory. Like people seek us out, right? People seek Emory out because of our education, and we've been fortunate to have a really good run at it the last 14, 13, 17 years we've been here. We've had a good run at it and be successful. So people have the emails that we get. That's the first place we look, is like, hey, somebody knows about our education. Somebody knows about Emory. Somebody knows about our staff. Somebody likes the way we do it. That's how we start looking. Now, when I was at Davidson and Evansville, it was probably a little different. I didn't really go through our emails quite as much because of the level that we had to get to play. And we go out and find, but you still have to find those people. I use a hook a lot, right? Like I know a lot of people in the basketball world. So usually if it's a good player, he's going to know somebody that knows me or know somebody that knows, like I've just been in it a long time. So that's how we get a lot of our student athletes. I know that doesn't answer the question. The thing I'll say about parents, and I think later on we're going to talk about this in parenting, is like, you're never going to feel like you did it right, ever. Like, it's just, you could do everything right, and your son or daughter could go to the perfect place, and you're still going to feel like you didn't do it enough, right? Or right? So there is not a right way to do it. Somebody told me when I started coaching a long time ago, is 99% of what we do in recruiting doesn't matter. But nobody tells you what the 1% is that matters. So you got to do all of it. You got to do the 100%. Right. Because you don't know if you only do this 99%, well, that 1% that you didn't do could have been what mattered for that kid. Mm-hmm. And that's the same. It's the same if you flip it on the other side. 99% of what parents do doesn't matter. But the 1%, we don't tell you what it is, right? Is it an email with a video? Is it calling a coach that I know? Is it a visiting campus, sitting down, there's all kinds of things that you can do, right? So yeah, I just think it's an inexact science, Amy. Like I really do. Like it's not, and for people who are very type A, like 2 + 2 = 4 in recruiting, it doesn't work that way. Like 2 + 2 this year could be 6, and next year it could be 1. And I don't know. Like I don't know how that happened, which makes it really exciting and really frustrating, right? So yeah, well, that helps him, but
no, that helps. It definitely helps. I think it helps, especially for parents, to know that what they're feeling is real. Yes. We need to feel validated as parents, especially as we're, trying to help our kids get to that right place. Yeah. One thing that you said, I want to just follow up on, because I get this question a lot, And that is, how often do you want to hear from a student athlete? And this would be one that you're recruiting, okay? Not the one that you're not interested in, that's inundating you with emails, but the one that you're recruiting. Let's say you start talking to him in his junior year. Like, how often do you want him to reach out to you to just be like, Coach, I'm still alive. I'm still interested.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think different sports vary, right? Like we only want to get four student athletes a year. That's max. Like that's what we want, right? So there's not many that, there's just a few spots there, right? We can get as many as we want, but we typically only want 4, right? And I think, it's funny you say that, because sometimes a parent reaches out to me too much. Like, now I want to hear from the student athlete, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's great. Like, I love that you love your son or daughter, right? I love that, and I do too, and I feel that. But like, I want to hear from your son, right? I want to hear, like, I read an email and I say, "Oh, I know he didn't write that. Like, his mom wrote that email, right? Like, somebody else wrote that email, right?" And so, like, I want to get the genuine, and that's how we are here. I want to get to know the genuine person. Like, all right, who is this young man that I'm going to be coaching, right? Because I'm not going to coach his dad or his mom I'm going to coach the young man, and he's 18 years old and he's going to be 22 when he leaves me. And like, we want him to grow, but like, sometimes I think the parents, especially at a place like ours, they try to do too much for them. Right? Like, hey, when I talk to your son on the phone, I'm going to want to hear his voice, right? I'm going to want to hear what he thinks, what he wants. Because a lot of times what I want and what my son wants is 2 totally different things, right? Like, not totally different, but I may want something a little bit more. He may want something a little bit less and wants something a little bit different. So the number of times that we reach out, it's funny because now with text messaging and calling, like, we don't call a lot anymore. Like, we don't talk on the phone a lot anymore. We do it over text.
Mm-hmm.
And my staff texts all our prospective students, and they get to me, "Hey, are you going to text him to set up a call?" And I said, "No, I'm going to call him." And then he's going to answer my call. And if he doesn't answer my call, I'm going to leave a message. He's going to call me back because I want to talk to them. Right. And so maybe I'm old school like that a little bit, right? But I wanted to, even if it's for 2 minutes, like, our phone calls aren't long anymore. Like, they're not, but even if it's for 4 minutes, "Hey, how are you doing? How's your day? What's going on? Like, what are you doing right now?" Right? Like, I like asking that question. Like, where are you right now? Like, what are you doing right now? Maybe a Sunday night at 7, right? Like, what are you doing right now? And, "Well, I've been in the gym for 7 hours." Okay. Like, you need to use your time more wisely, right? Like, you could be there an hour. Like, come on, right? But like, that's the piece for me of hearing it from kids. I like to hear from kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the emails, like, believe me, I know. I tell my son, "Hey, email this person," and then a week later, "Did you do that?" "Oh, I'm getting to it." "Oh, come on. Like, what are you doing?" But just that genuine connection that you have with the student athlete is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And when, so, I shouldn't say so. I used to think I got to email everybody back, right? So every email I get, I got to email them back. Well, if you're emailing coaches that are not emailing you back, it doesn't necessarily mean they don't want to hear, like, they don't like your student, because maybe they just, but it's also, after a while, if you send 3, 4, 5, 6 and it doesn't get back to you, like, I can't email everybody back. It's impossible, because if we do that, I have no time to run a camp. Right. I have no time to coach my team. Like, so that's the piece. Now, it could be that, our staff is 1, Jacob, and I have 2 part-time guys. Like, our Division I staffs now are 17, some of them, so that's a little different too. I think there's a fine line there. And I think that's a being aware of feel of, it's just like anything in life, right? You have to have a feel. Man, I'm probably going over the top here. Like, okay, back up, right? Yeah. Man, I got to do a little bit more. And usually when you're feeling that, it's a good feeling, right? You need to listen to yourself a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense. And speaking about that feeling, let's say you have 2 recruits, okay, side by side. They both have the same athletic ability. They both have great academics. They're going to thrive at Emory academically, athletically, but you only have 1 spot. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know we have flexibility. We can, when I was coaching, like, sometimes you just be like, I can't pick only one. I'm taking both. We're going to have an extra kid next year. That's it. But let's say in this world, that we're creating right now, you only have 1 spot. That's it. what is the characteristic? What's the feel that you get from those kids? What's the one thing that you're going to use to make that decision?
I don't know if there's one thing, Amy. Like it's the first thing we do is like, does it, in our sport too, like what position, so like if one's a guard and one's a big, like, okay, we need more of that this year. Like my roster, like a lot of times it's my roster. Like, okay, we could use a taller guy, or we could use a guy that has this skill, shoot it better than this guy. So very rarely are they exactly equal, right?
Mhm.
Very, especially in our sport when you have like 5 different positions that you can play, and then there's a skill. Maybe there's one skill that we're looking for. Like we'd really like to shoot it better next year. So when we go into this summer, like that kid shoots a little bit better. I'm gonna like, hey, I'm gonna try to get that kid right. Maybe. The other thing is funny when you say that is because sometimes it's your roster that you have right now, and it's like maybe somebody in your roster just grates at you, right? Like something he does, just like, man, we can't do that. We got to be better than that, or something that he does really well. And when you go on the road and look at recruiting, you're like, oh, I like that guy because he reminds me of this guy, right? Or oh, I don't like that guy because he has the same issues that I've been dealing with my team this year, right?
Right.
So that's why we go back to say it's such an inexact science, because like this summer, I may be looking for different than last summer. But so last summer, I may have taken that kid. And this summer, I'm like, I don't think I can take him because we're looking for something totally different, right? And it has nothing to do with how good a player that the young man is, right?
Right.
There's nothing. Now, obviously, if he's Steph Curry and Steph Curry, like I want to take him, it doesn't matter, like right? But like a lot of times, and I think you said, is there one thing that goes? It also comes back to who I want to coach, right? Like I'm with these guys a lot, right? Like a lot. And they're in my office a lot. They're in my office. They come down. I'm with them. I'm on a bus. I'm on a plane. I'm more than my children, right? And so we watch a lot of the intangibles, right? Like he comes out of the game and he blows off his coach, right? Like, nope, that's not happening, right? Like now you have to understand, like, maybe there's a situation where I'm like, I can see why he did that, right? Like if you're watching the whole situation, but if you're watching everything when you go recruit, that's why I think evaluation is so important. Sometimes I'll see a kid walking out to his car, talking to his parents, right? Like as I'm walking out to my car, and maybe the kid's not, treating his mom with respect, right? Like, hey, like it's just not what we do. Like it's not who we want to be, right? And so, there is a continuum though. Like how good is he?
Yeah.
Like maybe we need to teach you. Like we could teach him. Right? We could teach him, and that's coaching, right? But I do think like all those things, and I think our program's been really, and Emory helps with this, like to get good kids, right? Good kids who are just, they have good families. They're brought up the right way. Not that there's one way to be brought up. Like you go in our locker room. This is what's great about basketball and sport in general. Is like you go in our locker room. We have white guys, black guys, right? We have Christians. We have Jews. We have atheists. We have guys from the West Coast, guys from the East Coast, and we're all in the locker room and we're all together. We all have the same goal, and we're at pregame meal. And our discussions at pregame meal, they just blow my mind, right? And so that's why. That's why I love coaching in general, like just because you have, like, if our country worked as a team, right? And like, hey, we have a goal here and we have it now. It's a lot easier when you're a basketball team. Like, hey, we're trying to beat such and such, and we're trying to do that on Friday and Sunday and et cetera. Like there's a lot more complicated things, but man, our locker room is special. And if we could somehow, take that into a greater, if you can scale it, I guess, for the business word, right? If we could scale that, it'd be a special place, right? Special place.
So true. That's so true. Just to kind of build on that too, like, because to me, that's, coaching is about so much more. It's about those conversations. It's about the pregame meals. It's about that locker room time, the time. And, that's what I remember when I look back at my time coaching. So what would you say is your fondest coaching memory?
Ooh, you put that question. There's just so many. Like, I mean, the first time we went to the NCAA tournament at Davidson, I was an assistant. And so I worked really hard as a student athlete to do that. And we missed it by a game on a last second shot. Then I went back, and the first time we won the Southern Conference tournament to go to the NCAA tournament in 1998, like that was like really special, right, for me, just because it was like a 7-year journey, and we were really bad at Davidson when I started playing, and then we got pretty good by the time I was ended our career there because coach wasn't playing anymore, but that's why we were good. But we got really good, and then when I came back and coached Coach McKillop's first time he went to the NCAA tournament, I mean, that's really like at Davidson was great. And then there's so many here, Amy, that it's like we went to the Elite Eight one year and winning a game at Stevens Point. The first time we went to the NCAA tournament at Emory. The first time we won the UAA championship at Emory for me. Then not the first time Emory had, but first time in a long time, right? And then we were able to go on this run where we had 10 in a row, where we went to 10 NCAA tournaments in a row. And we were like the only Division III at the time that had done that. Those things are, and it's not just like one moment, but I think the fondest is when I come into my office and I look on the wall, and this, I have all the teams that I've coached here as their pictures on the wall. Right. And when you come in, sometimes you'll be in here on a, I don't know, Saturday during the season, and you're frustrated, and you look up and you see a guy and you're like, oh, I remember that guy. Like, I got to call him. Like, hey, I got to reach out to him. I haven't talked to him in a while. I got to call him. So on the way home, you'll call him, and then you're talking about these things that these guys remember that you kind of remember, but like you remember it differently, but it affected their life. Right. So those things are so like real. Right. And just being able to do that is special. For sure.
I love that. I love that. I mean, on my wall in my office, and you've seen this too, I had this huge bulletin board, and I just stuck up there every card and every note that I got from players, parents, other coaches. It didn't matter. Anything that was just really sentimental and just kind of, made it real, made it more real than what I was doing, like more personal and more intimate. And that's the relationship that a coach really has with the people that a coach works with every day and touches every day. And I still have my board behind here. You can't see it here, but I still have it with some of my notes left over. And nobody writes handwritten notes anymore.
100%. I don't. I get text messages. I text, like, I don't write handwritten notes anymore. That's bad, right?
It's a lost art, and I love it. And one of the things with the student athletes that I work with, I tell them, okay, after you meet with a coach, after you visit a school, I want you 100% sending an email thank you right away within 24 hours. You got to do that. But your bonus is if you sit down, write a handwritten note and mail it in also, just highlighting one thing that you remember. I don't know how many kids actually do it because it's optional, optional sometimes means I don't have to do it. But I think the high flyers, they really take that to heart. And I know that I used to value that board in my room so much.
It's interesting that you said I was, gosh, there's probably we have alumni weekend. Like we're going to do it every other year. And then the guys like, let's just do it every year. So anyway, it was a couple of years ago. It was after COVID, maybe 2 years. And then my wife was with me, and we were at just a restaurant in town with 35 of our alums. And my wife said to one of the alums, like, this is why, like this is why right here. So really cool.
It's great. That's perfect. I love that. That's really powerful, actually. So I love it. Thanks for tuning in for today's play. Join us next time to hear more insights from another outstanding coach. Until then, remember, as you navigate the ups and downs of your child's sports journey, you're not just picking teams, you're building character, fostering resilience, and creating lifelong memories.